Sparta, the city of warriors, the land that never surrendered. For centuries it has been admired, feared, romanticized. But here's the truth. Sparta didn't just train soldiers, it engineered them from birth. And the system that made them legendary was the same system that stripped away their humanity. This is the real story of the Spartan training system, and it's far more complicated than you think. In most Greek city-states, a father decided a child's fate. In Sparta, the state decided. Newborn boys were inspected by elders. If they appeared weak or deformed, they were abandoned. The logic was simple. A strong army requires strong bodies, no exceptions. On one hand, this created a population physically capable of enduring brutal warfare. On the other, it erased compassion at the very beginning of life. Strength was protected, but mercy was not. And if a boy passed inspection, his real test was still to come. At age 7, Spartan boys were taken from their families. No debate, no appeal. They entered the Agoge. The goal? Create absolute loyalty to Sparta. They were placed into groups, taught discipline, taught obedience. But they were also deliberately underfed, forced to steal food to survive. If they succeeded, they learned stealth and resourcefulness. If they failed, they were beaten. It was survival training disguised as education. It built resilience, but it built it through deprivation. The boys slept on reeds they gathered themselves. They wore one cloak per year, even in winter. They trained barefoot. Fights between them were encouraged. Weakness was mocked. Pain was normalized. At the sanctuary of Artemis or Thea, boys were whipped in public endurance contests. Some endured without crying out. Some collapsed. A few reportedly died. The Spartans believed this removed fear from the battlefield. And in battle, it worked. Spartans became famous for holding the line. But the cost? Children learned that suffering was expected, and empathy was optional. The Agoge created something powerful: brotherhood. The boys grew up together, fought together, endured together. Their loyalty to one another was unbreakable. This unity made Spartan phalanxes terrifyingly effective. They trusted the man beside them with their lives. But here's the contradiction. To build loyalty within the group, the system encouraged cruelty outside it. Helots, the enslaved population, were treated as enemies of the state, and young Spartans were taught to dominate them. Unity inside, ruthlessness outside. Then came the most controversial stage, the Krypteia. Selected young men were sent into the countryside with daggers. They hid during the day. At night, they hunted Helots suspected of rebellion. It trained stealth. It trained emotional control. It ensured fear kept Sparta safe from uprising. Strategically, it maintained dominance over a population that outnumbered Spartan citizens. Morally, it blurred the line between soldier and executioner. Sparta survived through intimidation, but survival came through terror. And terror was not just a weapon used against the Helots. It became a language woven into Spartan identity. Young men were taught not only to kill, but to detach, to see hesitation as weakness, to silence empathy before it could interfere with obedience. Because in Sparta, doubt was more dangerous than the enemy. Spartan boys were trained to speak briefly and sharply, From this comes the word laconic. Emotion was discouraged. Attachment was limited. Honor meant dying in battle rather than retreating. Mothers reportedly told their sons, "Come back with your shield," or "on it." This created fearless warriors, men who would not break ranks. But it also meant that personal fear, doubt, and individuality were suppressed. The system built courage, but it left little room for self-expression. For centuries, Sparta was respected across Greece. Its soldiers were elite, its discipline unmatched. At battles like Thermopylae, Spartan resolve became legend. The Agoge achieved its purpose. It produced warriors capable of enduring horrors most armies could not. But while Sparta perfected war, other Greek cities developed philosophy, art, science, and naval innovation. Sparta invested almost everything into military supremacy, and when warfare evolved, rigid systems struggled to adapt. Its strength was focus. Its weakness was inflexibility. The Spartan training system was not mindless cruelty. It was calculated. It built discipline, courage, unbreakable unity. It protected Sparta for generations. But it did so by sacrificing childhood, by normalizing violence, by placing the state above the individual. It forged legendary warriors, but it limited the growth of a broader civilization. Sparta chose strength above all else. And for a time, that choice made it powerful. But power built on rigidity cannot last forever. Sparta reminds us of something uncomfortable. Systems designed for survival often demand sacrifice. The question is, how much sacrifice is too much? Sparta wasn't simply heroic, and it wasn't simply brutal. It was both. If this changed the way you see Sparta, press like. It tells the algorithm you want more history that challenges the myth. Subscribe for the next deep dive into ancient Greece, where the stories are darker, deeper, and far more human than Hollywood shows. And tell me in the comments, was the Spartan system necessary for survival? Or was it cruelty disguised as discipline? Because history isn't about heroes and villains. It's about choices and their consequences. I'll see you in the next chapter.